Taiyo is an ordinary loser who loses his family in an accident and becomes depressed until his childhood friend helps him get better. However, when he learns she comes from a family of assassins and her life is in danger, he trains non-stop to become overpowered and starts clapping her enemies to keep her safe. It all starts on the day Taiyo gets in a car accident, which results in the death of his parents. At the funeral, he realizes how easy it is to lose someone you love and plans to keep his distance. But his childhood friend Matsumi holds his hand and promises that she won't leave him. A few weeks later, Taiyo is in school when his friends ask him if he wants to hang out, but he rejects them because he's scared of being attached to anyone. After they leave, Matsumi brings him lunch and tells him she's worried because he is always alone. But Taiyo tells her she's the same because she keeps turning down guys. Ignoring his yapping, she force-feeds him, but the vice principal Kyoichiro suddenly shows up and steals a bite, claiming that he loves Matsumi's cooking, which leaves her annoyed. He then turns to Taiyo and tells him to come to his office after school, and Taiyo gets anxious, thinking he's in trouble. After the classes are over, Taiyo meets Kyoichiro in his office, and the man starts showing him pictures of Matsumi on his phone, leaving Taiyo wondering if he's a creepy stalker. He also shows him a video of him beating up a guy who recently confessed to Matsumi, and Taiyo starts sweating, thinking he's next in line. As expected, Kyoichiro puts a knife to his throat, and Taiyo starts to think that Matsumi's V-card and life are in danger. However, Kyoichiro reveals that Matsumi is actually his sister, leaving Taiyo shocked. Just then, a white-haired girl enters the room and uses the flashbang, allowing her to steal Taiyo away. Later, Taiyo wakes up surrounded by Matsumi and some really mysterious people, causing him to jump out of the sofa. He asks them who they are, and Bitusmi tells him they're all of her siblings, starting with the white-haired Futaba, the wannabe Zoro Shinzo, the Twitch Tachian, the Neko boy Kengo, and the crazy scientist Nano. She then drops the bombshell that they're all spies, but Taiyo is so flabbergasted that he thinks it's a prank. After assuring him that it's real, they tell him that Kyoichiro is the eldest sibling of the family and the best spy in the whole country. When Taiyo asks why Kyoichiro is after him, Futaba explains that in the past, Matsumi almost died due to Kyoichiro's mistake, and he's become obsessed with protecting her ever since. Recently, they got an anonymous tip that someone is after Matsumi's life, and Kyoichiro thinks it's Taiyo, which is why he wants to off him. Just then, an alarm goes off, which means Kyoichiro has returned to finish Taiyo off. Futaba promises Taiyo that they will protect him and have traps set up all over the house, but she also reveals that Kyoichiro is the strongest of them all, and he might still win. To guarantee his safety, she suggests he get married to Futaba using their family rings because it's prohibited for the Yozakura to flatline a family member. Matsumi quickly rejects the offer because she understands the trauma Taiyo is living with, but Taiyo feels conflicted in his heart. As the group strategizes on how to stop Kyoichiro, they notice that he's already inside the room. He casually tells Shinzo that he destroyed all the traps in the house and also states that he has to take out Kyoichiro to ensure Matsumi's safety. However, Futaba slams him down, and the fighting begins with each of them trying their best to stop Kyoichiro. Despite them being extremely powerful, he aura farms on all of them with his special weapon. Meanwhile, Kengo and Matsumi help Taiyo hide behind a painting, and Matsumi promises him that she'll keep him safe. Soon after, Kyoichiro catches up after dealing with the others and finds Matsumi shielding Taiyo with her body. Kyoichiro senses something wrong and attacks Matsumi, instantly defeating her and discovering that it was Kengo in disguise. He then looks over in Taiyo's direction and demands that they give him up, prompting Matsumi to remove her Taiyo disguise. She reminds him that Taiyo is her childhood friend and would never hurt her. Seeing Matsumi's resolve, he agrees to let Taiyo go on the condition that she never leaves the house or has any social interactions. As he rambles on like a psycho about how much he wants to protect her, Matsumi realizes she'll be robbed of her normal life, but still makes the sacrifice to protect Taiyo. However, Taiyo steps out of hiding, practically to his death, and tells Kyoichiro to leave her alone. He then asks her to marry him so that this idiot can stop bothering her. While blushing, Matsumi throws one half of her family ring to Taiyo, but Kyoichiro uses his wires to restrain him before he can put it on. However, Taiyo remembers all the times she protected him and forces his way through Kyoichiro's wires, promising that he will protect her too. Despite injuring his hand, he gets hold of the ring and puts it on, officially becoming Matsumi's husband. As Kyoichiro goes into shock, Matsumi runs to embrace Taiyo, and everyone else joins to celebrate his addition to the family. The following day, Taiyo wakes up in his room and finds Kyoichiro towering over him with a knife. which leaves him terrified. When he asks why Kyoichiro is still trying to off him, Kyoichiro reveals he is actually training him to become a spy. Just then, he restrains Teo in his wires, and Matsumi enters the room to find him getting puppeted by her psycho brother. After she gives him the cold look, Kyoichiro carries them both out of the window, and the house explodes behind them. Later, Kyoichiro explains that someone had rigged his house to blow up Matsumi, because she is the head of the Yakuza family. He then explains the history of the family, which has produced several geniuses over several decades. But there is one normal person born each generation who is hailed as the head. Despite having no superpowers of their own, the head's offspring still inherit the powers of the Yakuza genes. This makes Matsumi the legitimate head of the family and the lifeline of the family, who must be protected at all costs. However, Kyoichiro isn't happy because she married a bum like Taiyo, who will definitely mutilate their sacred family genes. Just then, the car is ambushed by some military men, and Taiyo is freaking out. However, Kyoichiro and Matsumi act like it's an average Tuesday and ask him to relax because their family cat will drive them to safety. However, when Kyoichiro's tea gets spilled, he finally climbs on top of the car and uses his wires to get rid of the enemy. After that, he tells Taiyo that he must accept the mission to protect Matsumi before handing him a gun. He also tells him that a bomber named Tamaya is after Matsumi, and despite his genius bombs, he has a bad habit of posting his plans on social media. He then pulls Taiyo's cheeks and warns him that if anything happens to Matsumi, he will personally detonate a bomb in his cakes. Later in school, Taiyo keeps a close watch on Matsumi, but when his friends surround him to ask if he wants to hang out, his trauma makes him pass out. He soon wakes up to Matsumi by his side, and he starts to think he's not right for him because he's a wuss who can't protect her. However, she smacks him in the face and says she's the one who chose him, and she always wished to marry him. Just then, he looks up to see a bomb taped to the roof, and it blows up before he can react. At the moment, Taiyo realizes that he was being tracked and even has a bomb attached to Bond to his coat. With no time to waste, Taiyo jumps out of the building, but Kyoichiro holds him with his wires and disables the bomb at the last second. He then congratulates him on completing his first assignment and promises him that no matter what happens, the Yakuza family will protect him. Later, Kengo, Nano, and Shinzo bring in a chained-up Tamaya. So Kyoichiro throws him up with his bomb and makes him explode. The next day, Taiyo heads to Futuba's room and begs him to make her stronger so he can protect Matsumi. When she tells him he will eventually become stronger, Taiyo insists on speeding up the process because he can end up dead any day. Hearing this, she reveals that even with her special powers, it still took him 3 years to master jujitsu, which means it will take Taiyo more because he's a talentless moron. However, she still respects his resolve and offers him Yozakura-style all-out training if he manages to survive here for 1 month. He accepts because he doesn't have a home anyway. And when he almost falls into deadly spikes, she tells him that the whole mansion is rigged with traps for spy training. She once again reminds him that he has to live for a month, and Taiyo finally realizes what she meant earlier. The following day, he wakes up to an alarm clock that's also a bomb, so he runs into the hall where he activates live turrets and fire traps. He is toasted by the time he reaches the dining table, and when he asks Matsumi how she lives here, she says the traps don't activate for her. She adds that once the house accepts a member, the traps can be shut off for them. She also reveals that all of them are controlled by a computer, and he must clear all of them to get accepted. Just then, Taiyo starts to feel a little sick and learns that food is also training, and all the meals are laced with some poison to build tolerance. When he tries to rush to the bathroom, he finds the door heavily locked, and Shion explains that he must pick the locks to use it. With that, Taiyo's chaotic life begins in the Yozakura mansion, and it leaves him exhausted all the time. One night, he finds Matsumi sleeping on her work desk, and this motivates her to train even harder. However, he accidentally wakes her up, and she asks him not to go so hard on himself. When he says he has to, she recalls how she used to get bullied because of the silver accent in her hair, and Taiyo was the only one who helped her. He has been protecting her for years, so she assures him he doesn't need to overwork himself. 3 weeks later, Taiyo gets used to the traps and can maneuver around the house easily. However, he is still not used to the poisonous food and the bathroom lock, which causes him to pass out. In Nano's lab, Taiyo says he must go on because he only has 1 week left before Futaba trains him, but she pulls out the fake skin he's been wearing to hide his wounds and tells him that he won't make it if he continues like this. She also tells him that he can never take care of Matsumi if he doesn't take care of himself first, and gives him a book to read while he recovers. A few days later, Teo manages to lockpick the bathroom door, and his ring starts glowing, indicating that he is now accepted into the house. Futaba agrees to train him while Shion and Shinzo decide to increase the difficulty of the traps. The next day, Teo and Matsumi walk to school when a ball is hurled towards them. Sensing it coming, he catches it without looking and throws it back with immense power, indicating his promotion from Sakura to Sasuke. Later during lunch break, Matsumi tells him that he's become superhuman thanks to his training, so he should try to hide his strength. That afternoon, Teo helps her with a ton of paperwork and can't keep up because she is a machine behind the desk. Just then, she notices that Kengo missed a report, so they head to Kengo's room, where they find a mountain of dirty laundry. When Kengo acts nonchalantly about it and dangles his wee-wee in their faces, Matsumi gets pissed and threatens to discipline him. Kengo puts his game face on and tries to run away, but Teo activates lockdown on the whole mansion. She then takes Teo to her room to find Kengo, and Teo is surprised to learn that she has a lot of hobbies. After that, they check with Shino, Futaba, and Nano, but he's nowhere to be found. At last, they head to Kichiro's room, which is filled to the brim with Matsumi's pictures. And she doesn't even bother checking. As they reunite with the others in the hall, they spot Kengo hiding a painting, so he makes a run for it. Teo goes after him first, and by the time Matsumi catches up, Teo tells her Kengo got away. At that point, she disables the lockdown and takes Teo to Kengo's room, right before putting handcuffs on him. She then reveals that Teo always lets her pass first, but he didn't, which blew his cover. Kengo reminisces about the time their mother asked him to always take care of Mitsumi. Shocked that she's grown up so much, he takes off his mask and admits defeat. After that, she makes Kengo and Teo look for the missing paper and smiles as she hears them get along. At night, Matsumi treats Teo to a tasty curry rice, but their moment is interrupted by a call from Shinzo, who immediately starts crying. Turns out, he was on a mission and ran out of ammo in all of his guns, and he's a total wimp without them. Hearing this, Matsumi sends Teo to rescue him while she stays on call to keep Shino calm. As Teo closes in, he suddenly feels a gun at the back of his head, and using his training, he disarms the goon. As more of them show up, he deals with them expertly and even uses his taser gun to take the final guy out. Eventually, he reaches the room Shino is hiding in and gives him an extra set of weapons, causing Shino to shed tears of joy. Just then, some goons enter the room, and Shino quickly turns on his aura farming mode to take them out. Heading outside, he takes down dozens of men in a split second and heads to the exit. But Teo gets shot in the leg by a sniper. Shino is forced to drop his weapons to save his life, but Teo throws a fork towards him, and Shino uses it as a weapon to take out the sniper. After this, Shino carries Teo on his back, and the two bond over their first mission together. A few nights later, Teo is walking home when a wannabe Eraserhead asks him for a chat. He pulls out his police badge and introduces himself as CG, so Teo agrees to go with him. Later, he shows Teo a video of his recent shenanigans with the Yozakura family. CG understands a wuss like him can't possibly do all these things, so he believes he's attached to a secret organization that's backing him up. He asks Teo to give up his contractors, but when he refuses, he chugs a spiked glass of water down his throat. However, Teo spits out water using a gadget attached to his throat and claims he doesn't know anything. Just then, CG starts attacking him with a hammer, and Teo backs into a body bag of a drug dealer CG had yeeted earlier. He then holds Teo by the throat and pressures him into spilling the beans, but Teo spots Kyoichiro's wire and realizes it's a test. He bluntly tells CG that he would rather die, so the guy takes a swing at him. Teo dodges, and the wall breaks down, revealing Kyoichiro, who then reveals that CG is his classmate who was hired to test Teo's loyalty. The next day, Kyoichiro subs in for an absent teacher in class and notices that Teo looks like he was rammed by a big black dude.
Damn!
Teo is still tired from last night's test and decides to nap in class, but Kyoichiro sends Shock towards him at bullet speed to wake him up. He then uses Morse code to tell Teo about a half-conscious state, and Teo vows to achieve it. Hearing this, Kyoichiro uses a special pill to knock everyone out and hurls Shock towards him. When Teo destroys them with his gun in his sleep, Kyoichiro declares that he has in fact achieved the half-conscious state. The following day, Teo realizes he hasn't had a moment with his wife and decides to ask him out. But he's interrupted when CG calls him to a mission. Soon after, he reaches a lover's park where he is tasked with apprehending an armed couple. Just as he looks around, Matsumi shows up with drinks and says it would look more natural if they came here as a date. Teo freaks out because it's dangerous, but she tells him to stop worrying because she's a girl boss. After that, they watch many couples and rule them out, all while Matsumi enjoys the rides. In the end, they find a toxic couple who have a fight and decide to resolve it with guns, turning the whole place upside down. Taiyo immediately takes them out with his taser gun and gets them arrested, thus completing the mission. Following that, Taiyo and Matsumi return to the amusement park to spend some quality time together, and Taiyo finally gets a chance to give her a rose he's been gathering all day. This makes her blush hard, and the two hold hands as they watch the sunset. A few days later, Xian notices that someone has hacked into her computer and quickly unplugs it to prevent the theft of valuable data, but the hacker manages to steal some pictures of Taiyo. The following morning, Xian walks into the halls looking like she had a dozen shots and casually tells Taiyo about the hack, which puts him on edge. Later, Taiyo walks Matsumi to school, and someone attacks him with needles, so he takes Matsumi and hides in an alley. As he pulls out his gun, the assassin attacks him from the top and catches him off guard. After he blocks her attack, she gets moist and immediately confesses her love for him, right before telling him to die. Judging by her style and catchphrase, Matsumi recognizes her as the manhunter Ayaka. Turns out, she is a famous spy who ends men she's infatuated with 1,000 needles. Ayaka then reveals she'd gooned to his pictures after he got a huge bounty on his head, and she is in love with him because he always cleans up after a mission. Taiyo tells her he can't die yet because he's married to Matsuki, and this breaks Ayaka's heart. She says she got a free pass to end Taiyo from Kyoichiro, but he strictly told her to keep Matsuki out of it, which is why she has to retreat for now. The following day, she ends up as a transfer student in his class and immediately tries to assassinate him, but he blocks her needle with his book. After that, she makes several attempts on his life but keeps failing due to Taiyo's super awareness. In the end, she uses her needles to mind control the entire class and orders them to hold Taiyo down. Before she can attack, an assassin with whom she has a beef suddenly appears and fires at her, but Matsumi pushes her away. When Taiyo sees the bullet graze Matsumi, he quickly escapes the restraint and takes the man out, leaving Ayaka in shock. From that moment, Ayaka falls in love with Matsumi and clings to her, stating that she still wants to off Ayano, so she can be Matsumi's scissor sister. Later, Xian invites Taiyo to her room to show him a Super Mario ripoff she's developed. While he's playing, he gets to a level where he has to stop a train by spamming buttons, and he barely succeeds. Just then, he hears the news that a hijacked train was suddenly stopped, and learns that Xian makes games out of her real-life missions. She makes him play another mission, during which Ayaka hacks in and tries to steal more data. However, they manage to keep her at bay and complete the mission at the same time, allowing Xian to hack Ayaka back. A few days later, Taiyo is pretending to be Eddie Hall when Nano calls him and explains he is on a mission to neutralize some scientists developing a biochemical weapon. After obtaining it, he decides to swallow because his body can neutralize all kinds of poison easily. With a poison of this scale, it will take him 3 hours to recover, and that's why he needs Taiyo to pick him up. Hearing this, Taiyo immediately dresses up and reaches the lab, where he finds several injured guards and a breached security system. He gets a feeling that Nano didn't do this, and that's when two Hinajiku assassins, Sui and Oga, make their appearance. Together, they clear the lab and reach the room where Nano is sleeping, and Oga explains that part of their job is to take out Nano. When Taiyo asks why, Sui explains that Nano has digested the weapon, and taking him out is best for national security. Taiyo refuses to step aside, but Sui moves in a flash and slices him up in an instant. As Taiyo lies there bleeding, Nano suddenly wakes up and provides a patch test as proof that the weapon he ingested is completely detoxified. Upon hearing this, Sui declares the mission a success and hands Nano a healing ointment for Taiyo before leaving the lab. Later, Taiyo wakes up to Kyoichiro, telling him he made headlines for being a useless moron. He also reminds him that his incompetence almost sent Nano back to the gods, but Matsumi enters the room and smacks him in the head for tormenting Taiyo. Taiyo admits his mistake and wants to redeem himself, so Kyoichiro sends him to spy on Sui. A few days later, Taiyo follows Sui on public transport and tells him that he's come here to learn from him. Sui agrees to let him do what he wants if he can keep up with him. As Sui demonstrates his super speed technique, called walking on flowers, Taiyo does some parkour to catch up to him. However, Sui uses another sword tech to destroy his plot armor, and the police immediately come to arrest Taiyo for being a diddler. Following that, Taiyo follows Sui everywhere he goes, and Sui keeps destroying his clothes. Later, he helps them fight some goons, and when Sui tries to destroy his clothes, Teo almost manages to dodge his attack. When Oga points it out, Sui gets annoyed and attacks both of them. The same night, he finds Sui polishing a rock and assures it is a gravestone of someone he loved. Sui is impressed by his persistence and agrees to duel him in good faith, but he also adds that Teo can never be as strong as him. With that, Sui uses his attack once again, but Teo manages to block it because he's built muscle memory for all the time he was struck with it today. With this feat, he earns Sui's respect, but the article about him running in a train station with his willy out makes him lose all respect in public. A few days later, Matsumi asks Teo to carry a bag for her and takes him to a park where they meet Sue, who bows in respect to her. He then takes her to Hinajuku Cafe, which is her agency's secret hideout. As they drop in, they are bombarded with traps, and while Sui protects Matsumi, Teo is left to fend for himself. As they reach the lowest level, the idiot is about to get crushed, but a Dami Mommy named Rin saves him. After that, they get together to eat the cake Matsumi brought, and that's when Teo realizes that the errand was just carrying stuff for their tea party. Just then, Kyuchiro breaks through their walls, believing they kidnapped his sister, and this starts a brawl between him and Rin. When the whole building begins to collapse, Sui decides to stop them himself, but even someone like him is spat like a fly. In the end, Matsumi steps in to stop the fight, but Teo pushes her out of the way to take the hit from both sides. After that, Matsumi ties Kyoichiro up, while Rin tells Teo that she needs him to spy on a politician named Yoshi. Turns out, Yoshi is a menace who has used his triplet spies to force his way to the top, and now he's planning an early New Year's fireworks show. Since Yoshi is looking for a female assistant, Rin makes him dress up as a girl and sends him to Yoshi's dance party to get intel on those bombs. At the party, Yoshi pulls a publicity stunt by protecting the very people he paid to attack him and pretends to be hurt. As he's taken away in the ambulance, he starts celebrating his rise in popularity, not knowing that Teo has also sneaked into the van. For the next few days, Teo keeps spying on them while acting as Yoshi's assistant, but he fails to find a single clue, which leaves him confused. Just then, he realizes that Yoshi and his triplets have a habit of tap dancing, and it finally clicks to him that they are using Mercy's code to communicate. Upon listening, he learns that they plan to plant bombs at a conference with their biggest political rivals on stage. The next day, he moves the bomb away from the stage before activation, but Yoshi has already gotten wind of him and reveals that he planted a second bomb. Just as he activates it, he learns that the second bomb was also rigged, so he tells his triplet guards to take Teo out. Just then, Sui arrives and destroys their weapons before telling them that they are under arrest. The triplet immediately skedaddle, and Teo is tasked with taking Yoshi to the agency. On the way, Yoshi tells Teo that the death of his family was not a random accident, leaving him confused. He holds Yoshi at gunpoint and demands that he reveal everything he knows, and all Yoshi tells him is that this world is full of liars. Just then, he gets a call from Sui, who tells him that the deputy minister has been kidnapped, and the one they caught was a fake. Sui asks Teo to interrogate Yoshi, but the man breaks free of his chains and drops his earring to blow the van up. After Yoshi escapes, Sui calls Teo again to check up on him, and then reveals Yoshi is a legendary spy who was believed to have died 6 years ago, but is apparently still alive. Meanwhile, Yoshi livestreams his meetup with the deputy to the whole world, and finally reveals himself as the legendary spy. He then tells the deputy to tell the whole truth to everyone or die by his hands, but the man chooses to take the bullet instead. Right before Yoshi pulls the trigger, Teo shows up and shoots the camera down, which cuts off the live stream. However, his taser gun is ineffective on a human at this range, so he closes the distance to take Yoshi out. Unfortunately for him, Yoshi is always 2 steps ahead due to his decades of experience and easily pins him down. Teo asks why he's doing this, and he finally reveals that this is his revenge arc. Several years ago, he finished a contract and came home to celebrate his daughter's birthday. However, his house was blown up by the government, which wanted to get rid of him, and his daughter ended up dying, so he pretended to be dead and assumed the identity of a politician to take revenge. Just then, Teo attacks him again, but his triplets return to protect him. The man offers information on his parents if Teo backs off, but Teo rejects the proposal because he wants to prevent more deaths. Just then, Sui arrives and separates him from the triplets, leaving him to deal with Yoshi alone. Teo pulls out a knife coated with a sedative, but Yoshi already knows his plans and stabs Teo with his own knife. Meanwhile, the triplets reveal their powers to Sui because they are confident in their teamwork, but Sui aura farms them easily and decides to join Teo. Just then, He deflects a knife with his sword and senses a strong presence nearby. Meanwhile, Yoshi tells Teo he can't win because all his skills are already known. However, as Teo charges towards him, he suddenly pulls out Sui's walking on flowers technique and shocks Yoshi. Even with all the info in his mind, Yoshi still gets checkmated and accepts his defeat with a smile. Out of respect, he agrees to tell Teo the truth about his family, but the man gets a Charlie Kirk exit by the plot gods. Teo finds a note in his hand, leading him to a location where he finds what he seeks. He then heads home to Matsumi's embrace and the others, congratulating him on a job well done, which makes him smile. Later, he holds the box containing the secret about his family, and when Matsumi asks him to open it, he hesitates because he worries his life will flip after learning the truth. Seeing him break down, Matsumi kisses him to revert him to factory settings and assures him that he'll be the same goofball he always is. She also assures him she will always stay by his side no matter what, so Teo opens the box to find an optic drive. He then heads home with Matsumi, only for Ayaka to strangle him with her drumsticks. When he asks why she's here, Matsumi reveals Ayaka has joined their family as a maid. As Ayaka pulls out the optic drive from his pocket, Shion gets a hold of it and reveals it's damaged, so she leaves to repair it. Ayaka then tells him that the bounty on his head has gone up, and now she will take extreme measures to take him out. Later, Teo is in the shower when Ayaka shows up to attack him, only to get electrocuted herself. Seeing her in pain, Teo's simp awakens, so he blows up the wall containing the power source of the trap, which somehow leaves him on top of her. Just then, Kyoichiro walks in and assumes he's cheating on his sister, so he runs after him all over the house with a torture device. The following day, Teo is heading to a mission when Matsumi comes after him to give him his phone. After he quickly snatches it, Ayaka shows up and starts crying because she thinks he's cheating on Matsumi. Later, Teo and Matsumi take their family cat Goliath on a walk, and that's when Teo learns that he's actually a pure-breed wolf who's been serving them for several decades. Matsumi then asks Teo to ride with him, but Goliath doesn't like him and drags him across the city. As they stop to give Teo a break, Goliath notices a wannabe Pennywise in the area and immediately shields Matsumi from an explosion. However, they look back to see that Teo shielded all of them from the explosion. After that, Goliath uses his sense of smell to locate the culprit and turns him into minced meat. Later, as Matsumi tends to Teo's wounds, he suddenly tells her that they need to go home, so she asks Goliath to take them. This time, Goliath allows him to ride on his back and takes them home. Ayako immediately attacks him because she has a picture of him with a girl at the Hinajuku Cafe. But before things get too serious, the same girl arrives and introduces herself as Momiji. The man accompanying him is Kaoru, who reveals that Taiyo had tasked them to obtain Kyoichiro's favorite tea, because he learned that they had run out of it. Hearing this, Matsumi tells Kyoichiro to apologize to Taiyo, but when he refuses, she punishes him by having Goliath bite him. The following day, after some intense training with Futaba, Taiyo heads inside to find Matsumi holding an album. Inside, they find a picture from the day Nano got his spy license, but Taiyo doesn't even know what a spy license is. Futaba then explains that it's a membership issued by the Spy Association, and those who have it get all sorts of benefits. Taiyo gets intrigued and decides to take the exam, so Kyoichiro tells him that everyone in their family passed it on the first try, and if he fails, he will be sent to the gods. Later, everyone heads to Shion's room to see the new program she developed, but it turns out to be a horror game that scares Futaba. She becomes extremely paranoid of everything, and the rest of the siblings have to babysit her all day to keep her sane. At night, while Matsumi falls asleep beside Futaba, Taiyo reads her a story, which finally makes her feel better. She then reveals her mother used to read her the same story, but after she passed away, Futaba realized that no matter how strong she was, there were things she could not control. Having lost his own family, Taiyo tries to comfort her, which makes her happy. She then asks him to leave the room so she can sleep, but after he leaves, she caresses Matsumi's hair and thanks her for bringing such a kind soul to their family. The following day, Taiyo takes the spy exam and gets the highest score in the first phase. This makes him a target for the others, but a fruity boy named Tsukio protects him before flirting with Taiyo. Matsumi is enraged at this, but Tsukio keeps trying to rizz him up and drags him to the next exam. There, Taiyo pulls a Harry Houdini by escaping from a water tank, but Tsukio beats him to it. Following that, he participates in a Friday the 13th ripoff, but when he's about to get caught, Tsukio saves him again. For the next few tests, Tsukio keeps outdoing Taiyo until they're done with the whole exam and are asked to proceed to the main hall. There, they learn that the building will be destroyed in seconds, and the students must race to the other end. On the way, Teo gets attacked by a student, but Tsukio returns to protect him once again. However, the floor under them breaks, and this time, Teo ends up saving Tsukio's life. Hanging by the ledge, Tsukio asks him to let him go or he will fall too, but Teo refuses. Just then, Tsukio uses his wind skill to land safely, and reveals that he is actually a silver-rank spy and the proctor for this exam. Turns out, this race was a test of humanity, and Teo is given his spy card for putting his own life to save him. Later, Teo returns home, and the whole family throws him a huge party for becoming an official spy. Later, the Yozakura house gets a visit from their grandpa Ban, who claims he wanted to meet his new son-in-law. When he tries to drag Teo out of the house, Kyoichiro strangles him with his wires and reveals that Ban escaped prison to get here. Ban explains that the actual reason he went to prison is to get insider information from some inmates. When Kyoichiro tells Ban to go back to his cell, he easily escapes from his wires and uses a smoke bomb to get away with Teo. Later, Kyoichiro calls Teo and tells him to keep an eye on the old man because he has a habit of spilling state secrets for a sloppy toppy. As Teo tries to stop him, he realizes he is no match for the old man and calls a truce. At a bar, Ban then tells him about how he used to be a goon until one day, a goth Miskasa appeared and showed him love. From that day onwards, he fixed his life, but it was too late when he realized that good people don't always stay in your life. He then tells Teo to cherish his time with Matsumi, because no one knows how many days they have left together. Teo assures him that he will love Matsumi every day, and Ban realizes this little fool is more mature than he looks. As he drops his guard, his wife, Keiko, appears and puts him in handcuffs. Matsumi also appears and introduces Keiko as her grandmother, and Teo freaks out because it felt like she was dead from Ban's words. Ban starts begging Keiko to let him stay out for a night because it's their anniversary, but she sends him off with the police because they have work. When Teo says he understands the old man's sentiment, Matsumi starts blushing at him because she heard what he said to Ban earlier. She then holds his hand with a smile while Ban holds Keiko's hand in the car. A few days later, Ban breaks from prison and visits the family again, only to learn that they've all gone grocery shopping. There, Teo and Matsumi find a lost girl who reveals her dad was taken away by some goons. Matsumi realizes what's up and takes them to the underground black market, where they help the girl reunite with her dad. Just when they're about to skedaddle, they get surrounded by all the goons who want to cash the bounty on Teo. Before they can do that, Kyoichiro and the others arrive and beat the lights out of everyone. However, as they walk out, the whole mall collapses behind them, and they knock out Kyoichiro for causing excessive damage. Later, Teo and Matsumi learn from Shion that the optic drive contains a guest list for her parents' wedding reception. Since Teo's parents are on the list, Matsumi starts crying because she believes being associated with the Yozakura got them off. She tells him that he should divorce her to protect himself, but Teo comforts her and promises that he will never leave her, no matter what. He then turns to Shion for her opinion, and she says this data is confidential and should have been wiped. She then suggests he heads to the Library of the Dead, an organization that collects data about people who vanish. Once he gets there, Shion calms him that the library is protected by a silver spy named Mei, and she would turn him into minced meat if he made any noise. Carefully maneuvering through sections, Teo locates his father's file and finds a slot on it. Once he inserts the optic drive, the file reveals that his family was exterminated by an org called Tanpopo. Just then, the file suddenly blows up, and Mei quickly arrives to end him. Teo quickly shoots a circuit with his taser gun to cut the power, but Mei keeps chasing him even in the darkness. At the last moment, Matsumu quickly asks Teo to take his earphones off, and he chooses to trust her. She then screams into the mic, and this causes Mei to get knocked out, making Teo realize that Mei is super sensitive to sounds. After he heads home, Kyoichiro reveals that Tanpopo is the same organization that is also behind the death of Matsumi's mother. Teo's digging into his own parents' accident helps narrow down suspects linked to a doctor named Makoto, so Kyoichiro suggests breaking into his clinic to uncover how he fits into everything. The following day, Teo and Matsumi disguise themselves as an old couple and get an appointment with Makoto. He admits Teo to the hospital, and while pretending to be an old couple, Teo tells Matsumi that he wants to die by her side, which makes her blush. That night, after Makoto leaves, Teo sneaks into his office and finds an encrypted file called the Summoning Project. The file reveals that summoning protein in Yozakura blood gives them superpowers, and their blood can be used as a duping agent to grant those powers to anyone. Since summoning can't be produced in a lab, one must steal the family head's heart to dupe it. Just then, Makoto returns and rips open his mask before pinning him down, exposing the Tanpopo tattoo on his neck. When he tries to stab Teo, the knife is blocked by his armor, and when he tries to shoot back with his taser gun, Makoto somehow absorbs it. After that, he flashbangs the room and escapes along with his computer, but Teo has already copied the files into his drive and prepares himself to face Tampopo. That night, he uses the data on his drive to find more info on Tampopo, and learns about the Dandelion Hotel, which shocks him because Tampopo translates to Dandelion in English. The following day, Teo wakes up and finds himself on a boat in the middle of nowhere, which freaks him out. When he sees Kyoichiro on board, he realizes it's another one of his antics. Kyoichiro says he simply wanted to fish with his brother-in-law, but Teo knows it's never that simple with him. Just then, a bunch of men attack him because Kyoichiro put a bounty on him as part of his training, but Teo manages to beat all of them. Just then, their boat is hit by a torpedo, which knocks all of them in water. But when Teo swims up, he sees a Tampopo logo on the missile shell. Kyoichiro then explains that these waters are Tampopo's smuggling route, and they set up a ship that fires anyone who gets too close. Kyoichiro then gets serious and tells him this mission is a 5-star and will only be assigned to gold ranks. Since Teo is bronze, he gives him a chance to back out, but he refuses to back out because he wants to protect Matsumi. Hearing this, Kyoichiro tosses him several meters forward, which triggers another torpedo heading towards all the bounty hunters. Recalling all the training from the family, he cuts open the guidance board off T missile and disarms it just before it explodes, making Kyoichiro smile. Immediately after, he sends the missile back at the ship and makes it explode, and as both of them float on water, Kyoichiro confirms that the Hotel Dandelion actually has connections with Tampopo. He also got intel that Makoto is also there, so Teo immediately infiltrates the hotel. However, since he can't get to Makoto's suite through the elevator, he decides to become Spider-Man for the day. However, he reaches a high floor where a couple is throwing things at each other, which breaks the window, causing him to crash into the pool below. In the end, he disguises himself as a dog and manages to reach the top floor, where Makoto is with his guard Nomen. As soon as they see him, Nomen pulls the window frame out and allows Makoto to escape in a helicopter. After that, Nomen reveals that Makoto was able to replicate the Yozakura family's powers through a serum called Hazakura, and when he injects it, his body suddenly becomes buff. Before Teo could react, Nomen beats the living bejesus out of him and decided to finish him off. However, a high-tech bullet is fired, which blasts Nomen into a wall, and Shinzo makes an appearance to help Teo. When Nomen gets back up, Shinzo bombards him with every gun at his disposal, before throwing Teo off the building with a parachute. However, Nomen returns and reveals that he has a detonator in his mouth, and he will eat civilians if Shinzo doesn't surrender. Hearing this, Shinzo lets Nomen beat him up while Teo uses fake bombs to scare every civilian out of the building. With the hotel cleared, Shinzo pulls out his high-tech bazooka that's strong enough to punch a hole in a mountain. Once Nomen realizes Teo has already hacked the detonator in his teeth, he takes the bazooka's impact head-on and leaves the planet to meet God. Just then, Teo calls him to make sure he's okay, but a mysterious old man passes by and asks him to be careful. After the man leaves, Shinzo returns to find Teo's uniform covered in his own blood, and Teo passes out seconds after. Shinzo immediately takes him to Nano's lab, where they learn he's been shot dozens of times in his internal organs. The only reason he survived is because of Shinzo's first aid, but he won't be waking up anytime soon. While Matsumi stays by his side, Kyoichiro sips his tea in the kitchen when Shinzo arrives and tells him that Teo was shot in front of him. However, he did not sense any weapons or assassins in the area, which made him think Teo had been attacked already. Since his body had a delayed reaction, Shinzo knows only one person in the world who can do that. Just then, the alarm clock starts going off, and Shion reveals to Matsumi that more than 1,000 assassins are approaching their mansion. Turns out, it's a force of men led by a guy named Yama, and all enhanced through Makoto's Hazakura. Turns out, Makoto planned to injure Teo so all of the Yozakura siblings would gather in the house and be wiped out simultaneously. As all the men rush in after disabling security, they suddenly stop to face Goliath, who transforms into her true form and rams through dozens of them. Just then, the rest of the siblings show up and use their own unique powers to fight back against the horde. Yama then orders one of his squads to storm the mansion, but Kyoichiro is sitting on the front porch and slices them easily with his wires. When things get dire, Yama reveals that Nomen only had a 10% compatibility with Hazakura, but his compatibility is 60%. He then buffs up his arm and punches Goliath in the face, causing it to crash into the mansion. Kyoichiro pulls back his wires at the last second to stop Goliath from getting sliced. But as he stands outside the hole, he notices that his transmitters are jammed. Just then, someone activates lockdown in the building and locks all of them, except Yama outside. Kyoichiro knows who this person is and decides to visit them, and the man turns out to be his father, Momo, who shared a ring with the previous head of their family. Meanwhile, Yama cuts out the mansion's power, and Teiyo's pulse starts fading without the oxygen. At that moment, Matsumi recalls her mother telling her that their blood has great power, which she can use to help someone special to her. Thus, she injects her blood into Teiyo's body, but his pulse keeps fading, which makes Matsumi cry. While she mourns, Yama sneaks into the room and is inches away from ending her, but Teiyo suddenly wakes up and moves her out of the way. He vows to protect her with a unique glow in his right eye before rushing towards Yama and pounding him hard. Just when he thinks he can win, he suddenly feels a stinging pain in his head and drops. Yama explains that it's the side effect of injecting the Yozakura blood, and most people who inject it die immediately. Just then, Matsumi joins Teiyo and asks Teiyo to focus on her voice and let her blood do its magic in his body. By listening to her, Teiyo manages to master the Yozakura blood and awakens his powers. Soon enough, Yama approaches and throws Matsumi away, but when he tries to attack Teiyo, he receives a punch in the gut and instantly falls to his death. Outside, Momo reveals that Teiyo has finally awakened, and Kyoichiro realizes that it was all part of Momo's plan to force Matsumi into using her blood on Teiyo. He asks the old man why he went through such lengths to make Teiyo strong, and he replies that he did to make sure Teiyo can protect Matsumi. With that, the man takes his leave, but Kyoichiro is so pissed at him for being a jerk that he destroys the entire forest in hopes that it'll end his father as well. Back inside, Matsumi starts crying now that Teiyo is well, and the man hugs her for saving him. Before they share a moment, Shion suddenly reestablishes comms and asks Matsumi not to disable the lockdown just yet. With that, the siblings work together in perfect synergy to trap all the attackers inside a dome, and Futaba uses her wind magic to send them into orbit. Meanwhile, the old man blocks Kyoichiro's attack and reminds him he's the one who taught him to use the wires. Kyoichiro then demands that he hand the ring back because he's abandoned their family and no longer deserves it, and the old man agrees to it. Soon after, Kyoichiro joins the others and finds them pinning Teiyo down because he's gone berserk due to the Yozakura blood. He tells the others not to worry, as this is very normal. But when Teiyo frees himself from their grip, Kyoichiro resorts to restraining him with his wires. He then puts headphones on Teiyo and reveals the only way to bring Teiyo back is to have him hear the voice of someone he loves. The others try to stop her because her vocals can end all life on Earth, but she proceeds to scream into the mic anyway and turns Teiyo normal. The following day, Teiyo wakes up and is still cramped from exhaustion from using the Yozakura blood powers. However, Teiyo insists on going to school, so Matsumi asks Nano to accompany him. After he accepts, he injects himself with a serum that turns him from a Discord mod to a twink, leaving Teiyo shocked. As the two bros walk to school, Nano explains how his mutated state prevents his body from going out of control, but he shrinks it back when he has to go to school. Later, Nano calls Teiyo and asks him to come to the biology lab. Upon going there, Teiyo finds Nano's body being mutilated, and the guy asks him to inject her with a stabilizer. With that, his body returns to normal, but a girl named Rini arrives and casually checks his fever by touching foreheads with him. However, being this close to a chick makes Nana boil up, so she asks him to go to the infirmary and casually leaves the room. Afterward, Nana tells Teiyo that he came to the lab to get his meds, but couldn't make it in time, and that's why he called him. Just then, his body goes through another spike of mutilation, but he quickly calms himself down by chanting his gene sequence. He then pulls out a serum that will permanently cure his body mutilation and decides to use it. He explains it would change his current body, and he won't ever be able to attend school, but Teiyo has seen how much he enjoys coming here and stops him from using it. He then starts crying because he remembers how many times Nano has saved his life, and he wants to repay him by finding a way for Nano to keep attending school without having to worry about his mutilations. Later in class, Nano's arm mutates while reading, but Teiyo quickly injects him with the stabilizer before anyone can notice. After class, Rini heads to the lab to have her lunch, but her pet snake accidentally swallows Nano's medicine and becomes mutated. When Teiyo and Nano hear her scream, they immediately rush to the lab to find her on the floor. Nano realizes what happened and vows to save the snake, so he joins Rini in the boiler room because she believes the snake must have hidden here because of the dark and highly humid environment. As they begin their search, the stack suddenly ambushes them because it's confused and in pain. Seeing this, Nana decides to let it bite his mutilated arm because his blood has healing powers, and this turns the snack back to normal. Before Rini can see him, Teo carries him out of there, and Nano feels bad because he's caused him so much trouble. As he takes him to the roof, Nano's condition gets worse, and he decides to inject himself with the serum to permanently stabilize his body. However, Teo stops him again and asks him to chant his gene sequence to calm his mind. This allows Nano to return to normal, and he starts crying at how kind Teo is. Just then, they notice that Rini has been here the whole time, and she is fascinated because she thinks Nano is capable of metamorphosis. She then drags Teo away to make him register in the club, and even asks Nano not to leave or she will feel lonely. The next day, Teo is having sword practice with Shinzo, but even after using his newly acquired powers, Teo is leads behind Shinzo. He then advises Teo not to rely too much on the Yozakura blood because he is not used to it. Just then, Matsumi comes running in and excitedly tells Teo that she won a 2-day trip to an underworld hot spring. Later, everyone starts packing for the trip, but Kyoichiro sobs in the corner because he's the only one who can join them. When he suggests ditching the mission, Futaba smacks him in the head and disciplines him. Soon after, they reach the resort, and Teo feels uncomfortable seeing so many goons there, but Futaba assures him they are safe because fighting on the premises is prohibited. Just then, the Yozakura family runs into some old enemies, and their boss immediately tries to attack them. Teo quickly gets in position to defend Matsumi, but the hostess suddenly appears to stop them and remind them of the rules. After the gang leaves, the hostess turns to Teo and introduces herself as Emma, and thanks them for visiting their resort. As they set into the rooms, Teo learns that it's family tradition to fight over the window seat. Just then, Nana walks up to Shinzo and uses his cute looks to gaslight him into giving up the chair. Seeing this, Teo recalls how he and his brother, and he used to fight for the seats too when he used to go on trips with his family. This makes both Shinzo and Kengo tear up, and they force Teo to take the seat. In the girl's room, Matsumi is sitting by the window when Futaba tells her that she should tell Teo what she wants to, and he will surely accept it. Later, while the squad is having food, the fat bozo from earlier arrives and starts shouting at Futaba because she destroyed their base. Amid the chaos, he spills beer on her head, and everyone goes silent, thinking she's about to cause a Shibuya incident. However, Futaba starts giggling, and Shinzo reveals that she cannot control her liquor. With the place turning into a fish market, Teo quickly grabs Matsumi and retreats to their room. There, Matsumi tells Teo about the open-air bath, and when he decides to use it, she offers to go with him. Unbeknownst to them, Kyoichiro has completed his mission and has come to the resort. As Teo and Matsumi step into the bath, Teo keeps his eyes off Matsumi's peaches so his Johnny doesn't wake up. After she reminds him they're married, she suddenly stands up and shows him a scar between her pom-poms. She reveals she got it when Tampopo tried to steal her heart because it can produce thousands of compatibles with her blood. She then reveals that the best time to use the blood is when a person is dying because it increases chances of compatibility. And even though she thought she was protecting him, it was all planned by her father. Matsumi does not understand why he would do that, so as she rests on his shoulder, he suggests they visit the old man. Just as they share a moment, Kyoichiro suddenly shows up and vows to break every bone in Tayo's body, but a drunk Futaba steps in to defend him. Within seconds, the whole resort turns into a pillow fight battle royale. Everyone works together to defeat Kyoichiro. Days later, Sui and Oga infiltrate a lab where Makoto is said to be hiding and come across an emptied silo of Hazakura. Just then, a bomb blows up the entire lab, and the two barely make it out safely. Makoto watches the explosion from a distant island before heading to the lawn, where he talks with a white-haired lady. Later, in the Yozakura mansion, Matsumi learns from Ayaka that Tampopo has been transporting Hazakura on a regular basis. Since the exact location of the delivery is still unknown, each member of the family is investigating all the known sites to narrow the search. Meanwhile, Makoto is on a train with Momo, and they are already aware of Teo's presence on the train. Turns out, Teo has disguised himself as a porter, and after performing his duties with the guest, he reflects on how he couldn't find any info related to Momo because he's considered dead by the state. Just then, he drops his gun off the train, but since it's already gone, he decides to head into the cabin below. There, he sees a white-haired lady poking her head through the window and pulls her back. She then presents him with his gun, which she claims to have grabbed through the window, leaving him shocked. She then introduces herself as Yuki and asks if he can get her some wine, but Teo is suddenly called in by an angry lady. She wants him to open her cabin's window because she's feeling suffocated. And it finally clicks with Teo that everyone has been complaining about it all day. Just then, he rushes outside and pulls out his phone to learn that the whole train has been poisoned by a colorless gas. He then uses his gun to blow open all the windows, and this causes the air to get filtered. Just then, he walks up to two random gentlemen sipping drinks, and they turn out to be Makoto and Momo, who had used illusory poison to hide themselves. Just as Teo pulls out his gun, Yuki arrives and uses her long hair to restrain him with ease. Makoto then reveals she's a rare person with 100% compatibility with Hazakura, leaving Teo in shock. Turns out, Makoto gave fake intel to his family to scatter them all so he could have Yuki fight one of them and give her valuable data. With that, Makoto and Momo step into the next cabin, and Yuki uses her hair to detach it from the main train. After that, she begins beating the bejesus out of Teo and tells him he has no chance against her. She also reveals that she was so sick she could barely walk 10 years ago, but the Hazakura saved her. She adds that a human's body can only survive 10 years with this power, and she is nearing the end of her lifespan. Even in her last moments, she is happy that her fight will provide valuable data to Tanpopo so they can advance their research. As she attacks Teo, the guy uses his gun against her, but when she reveals that her hair blocks all electricity, he turns his weapon into a sword to fight her. He then uses the sword techniques he learned from Shinzo to cut her hair, but her hair regenerates immediately. As she swarms him with her hair, Teo suddenly realizes she's using Morse code to communicate with him through her attacks, which leaves him shocked. Yuki then reveals that she is responsible for his family's death and takes him back 10 years when Teo's parents came to congratulate her for beating her illness. They also gifted her sunflower earrings and told her that she was like their daughter, which made her tear up. When she was discharged from the hospital, they came to pick her up, and she was happy to start a new life with them. Sometime later, Makoto visited him, and she thanked him for saving her life. However, the man took her to a lab where he showed him hundreds of test subjects of Hazakura who couldn't survive the serum. As she fell to her knees in horror, Makoto casually explained that he was trying to save lives and needed her help. He also told her that he eliminated the Asano family so they wouldn't get involved in this, and Yuki broke down upon hearing this. At present, she shows him the earnings his parents gave her and reveals they have a tracker inside, which she can use to track Makoto's hideouts. However, Teo goes berserk and starts attacking her mindlessly. As Makoto watches this in intrigue, Momo tells him that Teo has used the Yozakura powers too much and will die in the next few minutes if he doesn't stop. As Teo charges at him again, Yuki restrains her and reveals that it's time to finish this because no more dates can be extracted from him. However, Teo breaks free and cuts his own leg to release some blood, which helps him regain control of his body. With the desire to protect his new family, he charges up a powerful attack he learned from Shinzo and slices through Yuki clean. As she drops, Yuki recalls how Teo's parents treated her like a daughter and helped her recover. She then prepares to face death, but Teo holds her and tells her that his parents often told him about a white-haired girl who was so kind and warm that she reminded them of the sun. Seeing what she has become, Teo blames Tanpopo for what happened to Yuki and his parents and thanks her for holding on to their memories for so long. Hearing this makes Yuki tear up, but the moment is ruined when two Hazakura named Ai and Mizuki attack Teo. Just when they're about to end him, they suddenly spot Rin and Futaba on the tracks. Before they can even react, Futaba hurls towards the train and stops it with her bare hands. She then grabs Teo and leaves, while Mizuki and Ai take Yuki out of there. Rin believes they failed the mission, but Futaba is certain Teo must have learned something valuable. A few days later, Ai and Mizuki are playing cards with Makoto, when they're joined by a wannabe Todoroki named Akai and a blue-haired Shikamaru named Onuma. They're also joined by Cha-Cha and Kurosawa, so Makoto decides to throw them a soup party. Meanwhile, Rin video calls the Yozakura family and reveals that she's found Tanpopo's hideout thanks to the earnings Teo got from Yuki. The org is hiding on a remote island and is housing thousands of Hazakura there, and Rin proposes they raid the island in a week together. Kyoichiro gets excited to work with Hinajuku and tells everyone to train their cakes off for the next 6 days. Later, Teo reflects on his battle with Yui and realizes he's not strong enough. Just then, he gets jump-scared by Ban and Kiriko, who reveal they have come here to train him. On the training ground, Ban tells him he has trained many Yozakura in his days, but Momo is the strongest of them all. He is so proficient with his powers that he can control the speed and trajectory of bullets, and the only way to train is to get shot until it doesn't hurt. He then shoots Taiyo in the face, but when it only scratches him. Ban reveals he can also slow down bullets to make them not lethal. He then unloads a whole magazine on Taiyo and asks if he has the balls to bear the pain. When Taiyo pulls out his sword, Ban tells him to prepare for a barrage of 1 million bullets. Meanwhile, Kyoichiro is teaching Seiji and Rin how his wires work, and one of them cuts off Rin's armband, revealing a Tanpopo tattoo. Kyoichiro tells her Kengo can help remove it, but being one of their lab rats that got away, she wishes to keep it until Tanpopo is completely destroyed. Meanwhile, both Sui and Oga are in Nano's lab, where they reveal they were also modified, but Rin rescued them and formed Hinajiku to destroy Tanpopo. Meanwhile, as Taiyo gets his cakes handed to him by Ban, he realizes he's miles behind everyone else, especially after Ban shows him his fully awakened state called blooming. He then shows off his godly blooming skills, and decides to switch the training to ensure Taiyo can awaken his blooming as well. As Taiyo prepares for a harsh training session, Ban simply grabs him and starts doing the Dragon Ball fusion dance, which is the most effective way to achieve blooming. At first, Taiyo thinks it's a joke, but when Ban shoots at him point blank, Taiyo reacts in a millisecond and deflects with his blade, which ends up breaking. Seeing that the dance worked, he asks Ban to train him more, so Ban decides to shoot Matsumi without warning. Taiyo instinctively jumps in front of her and blocks the bullet with his bare hands, and that's when he realizes he has in fact awakened his blooming, which makes his hands rock solid and makes his arms flaccid to absorb even the strongest impacts like a shield. Enraged, he tells Ban never to point his gun at Matsumi again, only to learn that she was in on the whole thing from the get-go. Later, Kiriko beats both Ban and Matsumi for taking such a big risk, and then takes Matsumi to a secret basement in the mansion where a locked book containing their family's origin lies. She explains that the key to the book is missing, and if they try to force it open, it will trigger a self-destruct on the whole mansion. She then asks Matsumi if she's prepared to sacrifice herself to save the family, and she says she is. Just then, Taiyo arrives and hugs her, promising that he always protect her so she never has to resort to it. On the night before their mission, everyone has a get-together under the sacred cherry blossom family tree. When Taiyo walks up to it, his blooming suddenly activates, and Kiriko reveals that this tree has some ties to their blood that heal their body and soul, and this is why they gather under it before important events. Their conversation is interrupted by Tsukio suddenly hugging Taiyo from behind, and Taiyo is horrified because it reminds him of his creepy uncle. Before Tsukio makes him taste his omelette, Ayaka suddenly arrives and tells him to back off, and this whole thing somehow spirals into a war over whose omelette Taiyo likes the most. Taiyo ends up eating all at once and declares that they're all the best. Hearing this, Ayaka and Tsukio carry him on their shoulders for fun, and Matsumi is happy to see him become a proper part of their family. After that, they set the stage where everyone takes a turn showcasing their talents, which ends with a good laugh for everyone. At the end, Matsumi takes the stage and informs everyone about the objectives of tomorrow's mission, which also involves uncovering Momo's real plans. Afterward, Kyoichiro drags Taiyo to his mother's grave, where he reveals that her body vanished, and it leads him to believe that Momo is using it to create Hazakuro. He then asks Taiyo to help him retrieve his mother's body in secret and put it to rest here, but Taiyo wonders why he's entrusting this to him. Kyoichiro responds that he doesn't want others to suffer, and he alone should bear the responsibility. But his eldest son's speech is cut off when Futaba smacks him in the face. As she drags him away, Matsumi arrives and holds Taiyo's hand, wishing him luck for tomorrow's mission. The following day, the family drops onto Tanpopo Island, and Chacha immediately informs everyone of their arrival. As Makoto wonders how they located us, Momo reveals it was Yuki, and this makes Makoto wonder if she doesn't like him. In the meantime, Akai heads to the surface to face the Yozakura family, and Makoto says she will be fine because she is the most devastating ninja on the island. She then casts Endo's God Hand to stop them, but Futaba uses her wind skill to deflect it and create an opening for the others. While the boys head inside, Futaba asks Goliath to fend off the stragglers while she takes on Akai herself. As their battle goes underway, Kiriko uses her sniper to take out defense systems, so Amuma decides to head to the surface as well. In the meantime, the boys are rushing inside when they are confronted by Kurosawa, the second strongest on the island. Holding him back, Shinzo asks the others to move ahead without him. On the surface, Akai powers up and sends another powerful attack towards Futaba, and once it touches her hand, she quickly tosses her glove away. That's when Akai reveals that her flames keep burning until the target is destroyed, and Futaba realizes she's fighting a female Itachi. Akai then sends several pillars of fire towards her, but she starts airbending like Ong to stop them from touching her. However, Akai decides to go all out and activates her blooming, which creates an explosion so big it shakes the entire island. Seeing this, Makoto recalls a time when Akai was a normal girl who became a victim of a pyromaniac. He saved her life using Hazakura and allowed her to burn the man who had ruined her life, and now she's the strongest one on the whole island. Despite Futaba deflecting her attack, Akai tells her that she cannot deflect the heat, which means she will be reduced to ashes if Akai just cranks it up. However, Futaba calmly activates her blooming, and despite Makoto's advice to avoid her, Akai still tries to test her luck. As she sends another attack, Futaba easily blows it out and reveals that her blooming ability allows her to nullify all attacks. Enraged, Akai sends a final flash towards Futaba, but she keeps nullifying it with ease. Seeing this, Makoto asks Akai to retreat or she will burn herself out, but Akai goes berserk and surpasses her own limits. Despite Akai's best shot, Futaba knocks her out and gently asks her not to give up on life after losing her family, because she knows someone who overcame the same despair. Meanwhile, Nano and Kengo run into Onuma, who surprises them by turning air into ice. He realizes that these two have probably come to rescue the test subjects, so Makoto tells him to yeet them all to stop any intel leak. After Onuma leaves, Ayi asks him not to because some of them are her friends, but Mizuki places his hand on her head, and she suddenly becomes terrified. On the other hand, Shinzo is still fighting Kurosawa, the wannabe Black Setsu who is so vicious that he takes out even his own allies. Since Shinzo's weapons do not affect him, Shion hacks into the security system and separates him from Kurosawa. She asks him to regroup with the others because Kurosawa is a bad match for him, but Shinzo insists on fighting with his blooming. As the fight resumes, Shinzo gets injured, but then recalls the first time he activated his blooming by accident, which left him horrified. He never used it since, but now his mother's kind words help him push through, and he finally activates it. With that, Shinzo charges at him and attacks his body, revealing that he's targeting his cells to halt his regeneration. He then explains that he is a coward scared of hurting his loved ones with weapons, and that's why he obsesses over them to make sure he knows everything about them. As he turns into Dr. Octopus, Kurosawa suddenly charges at him, only to get his head sliced off. Before he can catch his breath, more Hazakura suddenly show up, but they explode simultaneously thanks to the self-destruct chip Makoto installed in them. That's when Shion realizes that Makoto is willing to sacrifice everything, including himself, to see his plans through. She also locates more than 2,000 tons of Hazakura serum stored in an underground silo, which is enough for the whole planet. Soon enough, the silo will explode and dump all of the serum into the oceans, and it will spread throughout the world. Most of the people who consume it will die, and only a few will survive. There are only 30 minutes left till the explosion, so Shion directs everyone towards the silo and tries to hack the explosives. However, her plan is ruined when Chacha tracks her signal and hacks her first. He even asks Onuma to turn off all the exterior power sources so he can get to Shion faster. Just when Shion prepares to meet God, Kengo suddenly turns on one of the power sources and saves her life. As Onuma catches up to him, Kengo makes several shadow clones of himself and scatters across the tunnels to throw him off. Despite Shion telling him not risk his life for her sake, Kengo tells her to stop being an idiot and rely on her siblings. With 21 minutes left in the detonation, Shion finally agrees to accept his help and guides him towards the levers. However, Chacha relays Kengo's location to Onuma, and he uses his ice powers to destroy many of his clones. Chacha then goes on a speech about how he's the greatest mind known to mankind, not knowing that Kengo and Shion have already tricked him using fake clones of Onuma. This allows Kengo to turn on all the power sources, and with Shion back to 100, they both activate their blooming to finish it off. Kengo then walks up to Onuma and reveals that her bloom allows him to actually become the person he copies instead of a simple clone. And using this, he can learn everything about Onuma through his memories. He then starts narrating Onuma's sob story of how his only source of comfort died protecting him from the cold. Kengo uses this to appeal to his human side, and Onuma finally gives up fighting him. On the other hand, Shion's blooming allows him to take full control of the hideout systems, and she sends a shockwave to Chacha's system to knock him out. With everything under control, Taiyo and Kyoichiro reach the silo's gate, and once they destroy it, they come face to face with Makoto. Kyoichiro then reveals that the detonator is tied to Makoto's body, and if any damage is inflicted on him, the silo will blow up. Makoto says he doesn't care if he dies as long as his project succeeds, before showing that Nano has been captured. Turns out, Nano was helping the test subjects escape when he got ambushed by Ai and Mizuki. Mizuki then released a sleeping gas in the whole lab to knock everyone out, but Nano managed to stay up thanks to the detoxifying nature of his body. When Ai attacks him, he appealed to their humanity by reminding them they were also test subjects and his research could help them survive without the Hazakura. However, Mizuki revealed they already had a way to remove the Hazakura, but none of them wanted to return to a society that ruined their lives in the first place. At present, Mizuki starts suffocating Nano with his powers, and Makoto tells Teo he can stop Nano's pain by attacking him and blowing up the entire place. Despite being tempted, Teo suddenly remembers they have allies, just as Oga and Sui show up to rescue Nano. Immediately after, the Spy Association and Hinajiku both show up and turn the tide towards the heroes. Seeing this, Ai goes on a rampage as she believes these guys are here to destroy her home. So Nano decides to activate his blooming to even the odds. Using his power, he can detoxify any poison, not just in his body, but in a large area around him, allowing him to defeat Mizuki with ease. However, Ai suddenly starts whimpering, and Sui notes that her body can't keep up with the Hazakura, meaning she will die within minutes. Nano quickly grabs her hand and tries to heal her, but his methods do not work. Just then, Mizuki starts injecting her with his own Hazakura, finally realizing that he did the wrong thing by dragging her into this mess. As his body crumbles, he asks Nano to take her back to the light, and Nano promises that he will. As Ai regains consciousness, she begs Mizuki not to leave her, but it's already too late. With that done, Shien removes the detonation link from Makoto's body and informs Teo that he can attack him. Teo then pulls out his upgraded weapon, but when Makoto blocks his attack, Kyoichiro uses his wires to slice him up. However, Makoto easily reattaches his body, and Kyoichiro reveals that this mofo has been alive for over 100 years. Makoto then activates his blooming, and Teo is shocked to learn that his eyes resemble the Yozakura family. He then gives his villain speech regarding the imbalance of power in this world, and how he wants everyone to be equally strong by gifting them the power of Yozakura. He then reveals that his blooming allows him to recreate his test subjects at will, and leaves to detonate the silo manually. Stuck behind a wall of flesh, Kyoichiro uses his wires to launch Teo through it so he can fight Makoto, while he stays back to clean things up. As Teo rushes to the deepest chamber, Shien tells him that she will disable the bombs in 5 minutes, after which he can destroy the tanks. Just as Makoto is about to activate the bombs manually, Teo reaches him in time and pins him down. But Makoto puts holes in him using his blades. Despite bleeding out, Teo keeps pinning him down until he uses some skill to show him a portion of his memories. In those memories, he sees Tsubomi, the first head of the Yozakura family, willingly letting Makoto run tests on her blood. She wanted to obliterate the entire family because she saw their powers as a curse, and she was willing to sacrifice all of her descendants to see it through. As Teo snaps back to reality, Makoto tells him his death would achieve nothing because Teo doesn't even understand the grand scheme. However, Teo suddenly chops off his arm and says he only cares about protecting Matsumi and avenging his family. Suddenly, his body starts to mutate, and Makoto explains that he injected him with his own blood, which is like a poison that works only on him. Within seconds, Teo passes out in Makoto's arms, which takes him to another flashback. In this one, Makoto got shot by some military men who were ordered to bring Tsubomi to the government, so she could be turned into a lab rat. However, Makoto had already taken countermeasures, so he blew up the lab and ended all of them. On the verge of death, he told Tsubomi that she was free, but she didn't understand why he was letting her go despite her obvious use. He told her that all he ever saw was death in his life, which showed him how fragile a human life was. But then he met her and realized she was the next step in human evolution, and he thought if she were to rule the world, it would become a better place. Now that he was dying, he wanted to ensure that Tsubomi lived her life to the fullest, but Tsubomi was so moved by his words that she wanted to make his dream come true and shared her powers with him. At present, Teo is about to die as well, but his ring suddenly glows, and he remembers Matsumi telling him that she can manually activate his powers through it. This allows him to use his blooming, which raises his defenses tenfold and allows him to move. At the same time, Shien tells him that the bombs have been disabled, so with a newfound strength, he takes a swing and destroys all the tanks containing the Hazakura serum. However, Makoto absorbs the majority of the spill, becoming Resident Evil 7's final boss, and reveals that he can self-destruct to see his plans through. Just as things go crazy, the Yozakura family suddenly arrives to aid Teo. Working in perfect synergy, they overwhelm Makoto with one attack after another, but none of their attacks seem to work for some reason. Then suddenly, Teo spots a green glow on Makoto and signals Kyoichiro, who explains that Makoto is seconds away from exploding. They need to finish him off with their next attack, and Teo will be at the center of it. As the attack starts, it appears to be just a college of random attacks by each member, which makes Makoto drop his guard. In reality, all of the members are helping Teo disguise himself as a rock so he can slip past Makoto. Kyoichiro agreed to this plan because Teo was certain there was a secret lab under Makoto's feet, and just as he expected, he stumbled into one. Inside, he finds the body of Rei, the previous family head, covered in strange threads, and when he touches it, Makoto telepathically tells him that these threads supply him with the power he needs. He adds that destroying one would cause a huge explosion that would destroy him in seconds, but Teo doesn't give two forks and pulls the threads. What follows is a massive explosion, but Kyoichiro smiles above because he knows Teo's blooming is the only power that can withstand it. As expected, Teo appears unscathed while carrying Rei's body. Meanwhile, Makoto's Hazakura levels start dropping, but when he tries to blow himself up, the siblings work together to restrain him. Teo then returns to the surface and knocks out Makoto, just as everyone else deals with the rest of the Hazakura. Teo then thanks Matsumi for saving his life, and she declares this mission a success with teary eyes. After that, Teo takes Kyoichiro to the lab, where he finds his mother's body. Outside, Ban meets his son Momo, who is carrying Rei's heart in a suitcase. He asks Momo to return the heart, but when Momo refuses, Ban attacks him with his gun. Momo blocks the bullet with his hand, leaving a mark which he promises to remember before disappearing. Later, Makoto is arrested and put in prison, while his surviving test subjects are placed under surveillance by the spy orgs. A few days later, Matsumi pulls an all-nighter and finishes her report on the mission. He then decides to take a walk and finds Teo attending to Rei's grave. As they pay their respects together, Teo promises that they will one day find out about her father as well, which makes her emotional. A few weeks later, Teo wakes up to find Matsumi in a wedding dress, which makes him freeze. Just then, Kengo puts a suit on him, and Futaba tells him they're having a proper wedding this time. Soon after, Teo and Matsumi find themselves at the reception with dozens of their friends and colleagues in attendance. After some wedding shenanigans, the siblings are surprised by a video of their mother that Futaba had been keeping for years. Seeing her after so many years makes Matsumi tear up, especially when she learns that her mother wanted it to be played at Matsumi's wedding. Rei also asked Matsumi's future husband to take care of her, and Teo promised that he would. Will Teo ever learn the secrets Momo is carrying? Let us know in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you want to see more amazing recaps, watch this video on screen.